annual conferences provide ample opportunities to connect with amazing startups and the people behind them, tap into a strong support network for meaningful connections and gain inspiration for the journey ahead. So without further ado, Sahar, can you just tell us a little bit about Dumye and what it's all about?
Sure. So Dumye is a doll company. We launched about 3 years ago. The dolls, we say they're beautiful, they're personal, and they're purposeful. For every doll that is purchased, we gift another doll to an orphan and underprivileged child, and we do it through our workshops. So the kids have a hand in designing something that's really meaningful and purposeful to them, which is a really important factor in how we give, because a lot of these children have been, like, when we go to refugee camp, these kids are children of war. They've seen a lot of things. They don't necessarily have trust and confidence, and art and play is one of the best ways to allow children to be able to have a voice and to share their stories without having to speak. And do you want to say more? I can tell you more. But
I mean, I have 10 different questions, all of them based on what you just said.
Okay.
Just to start off with, where did this interest come from? Were you always doing charitable? Was it really, have you been to refugee camps a lot?
I hadn't until I started Dumye. But I was a designer before this. By designer, when I started my career in New York City, I was working in branding, graphic design, and the whole reason I became a designer was because I thought through design, we have the power to shape culture. Like, how amazing is that? And then after spending but after like spending more than a decade doing that, not to belittle like what I had been working on and the successes that I had, it was amazing. But I didn't necessarily feel like I was shaping the world for the better through what I was doing. And then I became a mother. And when you become a parent, are any of you guys parents? Anyone? Yeah, a few of you in here. I don't know how you guys felt, but when I had my daughter, all of a sudden it was like a reality check. I had this deep sense of responsibility. All of a sudden, you know, I'm looking at her and going, she's gonna get older, and I'm gonna have to tell her you have to like live your best self and like fulfill your potential and have the courage, and you know. And I was responsible for passing on all these really important life lessons. Like, nobody wants to raise a brat, right? Like, no one wants to look at their kid when they're older and think, oh my God, I messed up so badly. So I really wanted her to grow up like being respectful of the environment and compassionate to others, and to really embrace all of these different things. And all of this is swirling around in my head, and I have no idea how I'm supposed to tackle this, and I didn't know. And then it was her first Christmas, and I wanted to gift her her first doll. And everyone has like some sort of toy that they're nostalgic about when they were younger. And I'm a designer, so like I want to design everything. I'm like, oh my God, what's the perfect toy for her? What's the perfect doll? And I started looking around, and I was having a really hard time finding something, because dolls tend to sit in one of two camps. They're either like kind of inappropriate. I don't know, like the Botox situation is going on, and the mini skirts, and like just things that don't reflect the values that I would otherwise instill in my daughter, right? Things that I would normally be like okay with. Or they sit on the total opposite spectrum, which is like super homely, not like no real design sense. And as a designer, that wasn't really working for me either. So I decided I would make one, and I took my mom's old sewing machine out, and I propped it up on a little ping pong table, and I started like trying to figure out how to do this, because I didn't know how to sew. And so I was reading the manual, watching YouTube videos. I don't know what. Like, seriously, it was like. So then, that's where it all kind of comes together, is that I had designed this doll, I gave it to her, it was with organic cotton, you know, I started to like put in all these bits, and then I thought, you know, how could I know there's other mothers out there and other people who would appreciate this kind of product. How can I make it worth the time it would take to do this? Because it's crazy. I'm a branding consultant, I'm not a doll maker. Like, how can I make this work? And there was the opportunity. Is like, I could extend my motherly wings. All of these children children who are out there who don't have mothers doting on them in the way that I'm doting on my daughter and thinking about how do I make this special for you and whatever, they don't have anyone doing that for them. And I know firsthand how therapeutic the process of art is. I went to art school, like a fine arts school, and the process of even creating this cloth doll, the hand sewing, all of that is actually really relaxing and super therapeutic. And I thought, you know what, if I could just package all the values, all the things that I really cared about into this one company, it would be a living lesson for her. And then it's like for me, that was like, I get to be a designer, it's just a new medium. You know, I get to teach her all these amazing things, and I get to make a difference in the world through it, to make a real impact. And that's kind of how it all converged.
Okay. What about things like sourcing materials and things that you have no experience in?
Yeah.
So entrepreneurs will often have a great idea, and then when they get down to those details, they realize they have some
It's
so what was
super
the
hard.
for you?
I mean, it's super hard because in the beginning, like you said, I didn't know anything about doing this type of thing. And so you start out, we started out small, so everything was like retail. I mean, I'd go on Google and I'd be like, organic cotton, where do I find that, right? And I started ordering like bolts of fabric online, and I would pay retail prices, but it also meant that I could experiment, you know? I could try one fabric, see how that worked. If it didn't work, I could try a different fabric. And then you start to do like crazy research, like they send you the bolt and you're like looking at the side, like at all the numbers, you're like, now how do I find the source for this fabric? So I can skip the retailer and go straight to the manufacturer. Like you kind of have to be a little bit psychotic. I mean, I had to be a little psychotic because that was all I had, was like my grit, you know, is like, I have to figure this out, I have to figure it out. And you do a lot of
You're
research.
passionate, you're detail oriented, so
It's there.
Metrics for success. But how would you measure the success of this? I mean, it's really brought you joy. It's clear that it brings a lot of children joy. I've seen you in the press a lot, so I was really excited to meet you. But for just general entrepreneurs, how can you measure the success of it?
I think I measure our success by how much we can give and like the impact that we can make. And so, and especially because our giving is very much tied to our sales, like they coincide with each other. But for me, it's how much we can give. So there's the giving part in the sense that we go into these orphanages and we do these workshops, which is great, and it's a very important part in what we do. We also source a lot of organic and sustainable materials, so being kind to the environment, that is part of it. We get some fabrics from Pakistan, some from India, we get some stuff from the US that I can't find anywhere else, and so we ship them. There is nothing here that I can find. Logistics is serious business for us. Things coming in and out of the country, because we also sell these dolls all over the world. So it's not just in the Gulf, it's like we sell them. We have retail partners in the US and in Hong Kong, UK, like lots of places. So the logistics is a big deal, both for raw materials as well as finished products. But the other side of it is we partner with an NGO in India, and basically it's this amazing place in the middle of nowhere. I went to Pradesh, I mean, it's like serious village. And there's an NGO there, and they educate girls. They literally pay the girls to go to school. And when the girls graduate, they help them find jobs. And one of those jobs they provide is sewing. And so we work with them on certain aspects of our production. Most of our production happens here in the UAE, but the bits that I can give to them, I give to them. Because what happens is we then get to support these women with dignified work who don't have access. And then they take their proceeds and they dump it back into the Girls' Education Society. So it's like this amazing full circle. We say the dolls are made with karmic goodness, and like, because they really are. There's like so much love that goes into every aspect of it.
Sounds amazing. I feel like everything you're saying could be an inspirational quote on my wall. But at the end of the day, you do need to run a company.
Yeah.
So how is this making money?
We sell dolls.
How much do you sell them for? How much does it take to make money?
Sure. So we launched with our premium doll, which is our limited edition cloth dolls that are numbered. They're made to order. So when you go onto our website, you choose the doll's skin tone, hair color, hairstyle, eye color, and then we cut the doll, make it, and send it off. retail those starting at $168 US. And then we launched in the second year our Petite Dumye, which is $98. It's a smaller doll. I should talk in dirhams, shouldn't I? Sorry. So the big dolls are like 620 dirhams. The Petite Dumyes are 360 dirhams. The Petite Dumyes, they're smaller, they're safer for younger kids, their clothes are snugger so they don't come off, there's no choking hazards. They're super sweet. And then we recently launched our DIY doll kits, which were inspired, they're super fun, and they're inspired by the workshops we've been holding in orphanages. It's the same sort of process that we've been doing in the orphanages and refugee camps, but now parents can do it at home with their kids, and it still sponsors an orphan doing the same, and those retail for 240 dirhams. And we have 3 SKUs for those. We recently launched them, and those have been doing super duper well. And it allowed us to really, because a lot of people were excited about Dumye in the beginning because of what we were doing, but maybe weren't necessarily prepared to spend 600 dirhams on a doll, or maybe their child was too young, or they don't even have a daughter, so it's like a gift they're giving to like their friend's kid or something. And so we knew that people wanted to be in our community and support what we were doing, and we just needed to be able to get a little bit bigger to be able to provide more variety in our offering to welcome them into the community. And now we're living really bigger.
And who is your typical customer?
I mean, we have like a whole cross section. I think for the limited edition dolls, we have a lot of like fashion editors, like stylists, and who really fashion savvy moms who are design oriented really eat that up. It's the same because they're similar to me. You know, they're really into like all those details, and so they appreciate all those bits. And the Petite Dumye, I find, is a similar customer, but they tend to have younger children, or maybe they're just not ready for the limited edition. Our customers are mostly moms, all of you have some dads, grandparents in there, but mostly moms, who are fashion savvy, who are socially minded, who are looking for opportunities to share those same values that we talked about. I get letters from like parents who are like, oh my God, I got a doll, and I was so excited to be able to explain to my daughter what it meant and how important was going to get one. And we're always looking for opportunities to share those life lessons. And thank you for giving us like a tangible way to do that. So, and then the kids, I'm still learning. Like, it's a much broader audience. Like Virgin Megastore here in the UAE just started stocking those kits, so that's in their gift section. So it's a much broader audience. I think, you know. So I'm still figuring it out. Who are the tracks?
In terms of setting the price point, which, I mean, what is normal for girls?
Yeah.
People just go
Well, you know what? Someone always pays the price.
Yeah.
So yes, if you go into like the big box toy stores, you're gonna find toys that are, or dolls that are a fraction of that price. But that is going to be for various reasons. Whether it has to do with how they're produced, what they're produced with, what they're made out of. And then there's also the volume factor, right? So if we were making, 10,000 units of the same product, obviously there's economies of scale, so it's easier to bring down the prices on those things. So I don't know what the average, there's no average, there's so many different dolls, but there are dolls that are similar in, let's say, similar like handmade, like in our kind of genre, that sell for more than ours sell for, and there's no giving back, there's no like, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with American Girl. Do you know American Girl? No? Okay, so American Girl, you know American Girl. So American Girl in the US is a very popular doll company, and they sell dolls where you can personalize, they're plastic, and you can personalize them to a certain extent, and they retail their dolls for like $125, but there's no giving back, there's no organic, there's no, like none of, and they're enormous, So we're a little bit more expensive, we're a little bit more premium, but for the value in which you're getting, for what all the things that we're doing, it's very fair, very fair.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a market for it.
Yeah.
People doing well enough to justify the price, but also just the fact that the orphan gets one too. Increasing
our brand because we're a small, self-funded company. We don't have buckets of money like sitting there waiting to be spent, and so we have to be really savvy with where those dollars go, where the marketing dollars go. And social media, especially Instagram specifically, has been so good for us. People will go buy something. Yeah, they're totally on there. Even the moms. Like I was reading this article the other day, and it was
About the moms on Instagram knowing about marketplace.
it was about that lady who made the moccasins in the U.S.
Yeah, I read the same.
Yeah, and she was talking about how Instagram is like the only social media feed where a mom who's breastfeeding in the middle of the night can scroll with one finger. You know, like so she could be breastfeeding, scrolling with the other hand, and at 4 in the morning there's no one else to talk to. So like that's what you're doing. Instagram is like the holy grail for us. People will go on Instagram, see a picture, then go onto our website, buy it, and they go back on Instagram and tell us that they just bought it, you know? So we get the most engagement there. We get, you know, on Facebook we post things and like I feel like nobody sees it. We have a following, but I don't feel like anyone sees it. On Instagram, I feel like that's where it all happens for us, and it's super important.
Yeah, I mean, for your marketing business. You were saying self-funded, so when did this company start?
So we launched it in 2013.
It was self-funded
Completely. So I started with, I did a small design project, and I told my husband it was $8,000, and I was like, that's mine. And he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to start this doll company. And everyone in my family thought I was crazy. I mean, they were like, what are you doing? They were like, what are you doing? Like, why are you sewing? Like, what are you doing? And I was like, just give me some time, give me some time. So I bought a sewing machine, like a new one, a proper one. And there was $2,000 gone, and then I was like, oh my god, I need a website. So I went on Shopify to find, and like I sort of scraped it together, and I made it work with that, and that's how I launched it. And it's, you know, that's how we roll.
And then when you started getting orders, at what point how did you just build up? You know, did you bring in other people on board? I mean, it just sounds like a lot on your shoulders.
It is a lot. It is a lot.
Design, you're sewing actual.
Yeah, so when I started, for the first 3 months, I was selling everything. I was like doing all the marketing. I was like, literally everything was just me. And then I was like, this is not gonna work. And so I brought in somebody to work part-time sewing. So I started teaching her how to make the dolls and like, you know, and it like I had a spare bedroom in my house that was my studio. It's still my studio. That's where we still run everything. And now she works full-time, obviously. And so it was baby steps because I couldn't afford to do it any other way. And although it's painful to do it that way, I actually think it keeps you on your toes. You don't waste any money because there's no money to waste. Like there's no room for error. So you just have to like, you put your nose down, you bust your butt, you cry a lot, and like you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, or is it really worth it? Like, is this gonna work? And then you have a win. And then you're like, no, I've got this, like, I've got this, it's gonna happen, it's working. And it was baby steps. I only recently hired, I have a part-time accountant, and that was like the holy grail for me, because I was so done with doing my own finances. And so she started like 2 months ago, and that's made a huge difference. But you get to the point where you're basically like, it's not like humanly possible for you to continue to do all these things and do them well and be able to grow. And so you start to, you know, like, and she works part-time, so that makes it affordable.
I think what you said is especially true for a woman who's managing her house and her family. So I was going to ask how you balance everything. How do you work-life balance?
I think that's a myth. I think whoever came up with that idea of work-life balance,
cannot have it all
at
the same time.
well, it doesn't happen all at the same time, like, in the sense of that day. Like, one day, your company needs you more, and one day your family needs you more, and like, they're really intertwined, and it's messy, and it's organic, and that's okay. And I think recognizing that that's okay, and like embracing it and just going with it is the best way to go. Because in the beginning, I was super controlling. Like, I didn't hire someone to help me in my, like, a house helper, like, full-time thing until 3 months ago. And I was like, I got this, I can do it. I can do everything, and I can do it on my own. But I was like falling apart at the seams. And I was like, that's not for anybody. So now I just need to like take that step. I need that person's help, cook some meals, just keep the house a bit tidy so I have some sanity. And it's made a huge difference. But it's messy and crazy, and that's okay. And I would love to go to a talk where a man gets asked that question, because I swear I don't think it's ever happened. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it out there.
You would say that on the red carpet, but
It's true, and I don't know if it's like, because I can't decide. I know when I did you read Lean In?
I didn't read.
No, okay. So if you haven't, it's actually, I did, I liked it. And one of the things she said was, Sheryl Sandberg said was, you have to like let your husband mess up. Like, even if he puts the diaper on the baby's head, you know what I mean? Like, give him the space to do it, because as a woman, you tend to be like, no, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, no, just, and it's just easier to do it yourself. But being able to be like, actually, you know what? Like, give him this space. Like, give your partner this space to like maybe do it wrong. I'm not saying just like let him flail around, but I'm just like, if maybe it's not your way, but it's like good enough, so that you can have the space to do these other things that you want to do too. Like, you have to be a team. Like, you know, give and take. And the times like when I have to travel for work, you know, my husband, who's over there, you know, he pulls out the guns and he's like, all right, you know, he gets up earlier to make sure my daughter goes to school. There's like a give and a take. And when he's got a lot of work going on, I have to like, you know, pull extra weight.
I think, you you said it perfectly, but it's about not expecting yourself to do everything alone.
Yeah.
Learning how to rely on people for help and accepting that they have a different way to do it. With that said, so what advice would you give to a woman specifically who wants to launch a business? And I say that on purpose.
To a woman.
Yes.
I
Female entrepreneur, perhaps as a noun.
I think that if you want it, you will have to fight for it, but it's worth it. I don't know that there's necessarily like a specific thing for a woman versus a man as far as starting a business. I know that if you have a family, it does become a little bit more challenging depending on how contemporary your partner is, I'll put it that way, or how much help you have like around. But I think that, you know, being an entrepreneur is an incredibly tumultuous journey, and you need people around you who are on your team and who are supporting you, and you need to be willing to accept help, and then you just have to fight tooth and nail for whatever it is that you want.
It's different now.
Yeah, I think it's
You have to have the passion and drive to see it through, several setbacks.
Yeah. Because I think what happens is that a lot of times it's just like hanging in there long enough to see it succeed. It's not necessarily that like, maybe like, you know, for example, when we launched Dumye, within 2 months, like actually on the first day that we launched, the editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar bought a doll from me. I have no idea. I don't know her. It's not like I'm connected or something. I don't know how she found me. And then she bought it for her daughter, and she was super excited. And then she was like, "Can I write a piece on you?"
Show us Instagram.
Totally. You can totally write a piece on me. That'd be amazing. And so she went and she wrote this piece on Dumye, and I'm thinking like, oh my God, we've made it. Like, we're in Harper's Bazaar. And then like nothing happened. And you're like, what? That's not how it's supposed to be. And like, but it is. That's how it is. It takes a long time and a lot of persistence and a lot of little wins to get to the big wins.
What was one of the biggest setbacks for you when you thought maybe I can do it?
So the first year, so we launched with these limited edition dolls, which are obviously, like, they're a bit more of a premium product, so my target market is smaller. And I refused to sell them. We were just selling them online. We didn't have the capacity to do wholesale, and I wasn't particularly interested in doing it anyway, wholesale. And everyone kept telling me, Sahar, you need to go to the right market. You need to go to the right market. I'm like, the right market? Like, no. These are like, you know, 600 dirham dolls. You don't sell 600 dirham dolls at the right market. People want to spend like 100 dirhams. You know, they're going there to have a picnic with their kids. Everyone's like, you're being delusional. Your target market is at the right market. Go to the market. And I was like, no. In the first year, I wouldn't do it. And then I was like, we're not making any money. Like, we're not going to survive. We need like revenue. We need like serious revenue. Otherwise, it's like So finally, I swallowed my pride and I went to the market and we sold. And people were like, oh my God, I've read about you, but I've never seen them in real life, you know? I wanted to see it in real life. Oh, it's so good to touch it. Oh my God, these are really well made. They're bigger than I thought they were, you know? And so all of a sudden, you know, people were interacting with the product. I was getting feedback that I couldn't get online, you know? People were able to interact with it, see it, get excited about it, tell their friends, oh, you know, if you want to see the Dumyes, they're at the right market. And that was a huge shift for us, but it was it took me a year to get there. I mean, there was a reason why. From a brand positioning point, it didn't make sense to me. But at a certain point, you just have to, like, if it's not what you're doing isn't working, then you got to try something else. I mean, what do you have to lose, right? And I'm really glad it did, because it made a huge difference for us.
And your biggest
I think one of the things I'm super proud of, from like, I'll tell you from a commercial standpoint, and then I'll tell you from the giving standpoint, or an impact standpoint. I think from a commercial standpoint, we have a retail partnership with Bergdorf Goodman in New York, and they've been with us for 4 seasons. And if you don't know who Bergdorf is, it's one of the most prestigious department stores in the world. And how I got that account was literally, I walked into the store with a basket of dolls and was like, hi, my name's Sahar. I have a doll company, I live in Dubai. And they've been with me for 4 seasons and they've been amazing, like super, super supportive. And then I think from a giving perspective, I think the fact that we've been able to tie all the different elements together, like from a production standpoint, the NGO, the materials, the going to the orphanages, for me, like that mix, and because it didn't happen like in the beginning, it took us time to kind of figure all that out, for me is a huge win, because I want to be able to honestly say to people, you know, what we make is ethical, like it's ethically produced, like we're not taking advantage of everybody, or of anybody. When Dumye wins, literally everybody involved wins, and that brings me a lot of joy.
Your passion is definitely coming through. I feel like I'm sorry. It's all right. I wanted to ask the audience if you have questions for Sahar. But
I have a question about the psychotic moments you mentioned. So I think there are probably 2 very psychotic moments in the life of an entrepreneur. So probably one for you was the one when, after learning how to sew and experimenting, you actually went to the product phase and you realized that you're actually creating a product. So I wanted to ask you, what was that psychotic moment for you, going from the experiment to the actual product?
Yeah.
And then the other psychotic moment, what was the moment when, from the product, you actually realized that you're going to create a company out of that product? So what were those psychotic moments?
Yeah. So when I was designing the doll to begin with, I was making it for my daughter. So it wasn't, the psychotic part was like, how do you stick stuffing into a piece of fabric like that's that big? I mean, I didn't have any sewing skills, so like now I know there's like a tool that you use, super simple, that turns it inside out, and you stuff the stuffing in with a fork. But like the frustrating part was just trying to figure that out. But I was doing it for my own personal enjoyment, so it wasn't the same sort of psychosis that happens when you're trying to start a business. I think I did it for her, and then I made a doll for like a few of my nieces and nephews, and that's when I started to see actually, you know what, this could actually turn into something. What was challenging is that when you start a business, everyone tells you, well, where's your business plan? You know, what's your business plan? What's your 5-year plan? What are your forecasts? And I'm like, what are they talking about? Like seriously, my brain doesn't function like that. I've tried so hard, but I just cannot get my brain to function like that. I had 5 sticky notes. That's what I started with, was 5 sticky notes, and each one represented a year, and I put down like some bullet points of like the things that I wanted to achieve in each year, both professionally as well as personally, so that I knew that there'd be some intertwining going on. And I got that book, the visual business model.
The business model generation.
Yes.
The canvas.
Yes. And I don't even know if I did it right, but I read the whole book, and then I did my sticky notes on my board, and I did it. I don't know if I did it properly, but it was good enough for me to like really kind of map things out in my head. I think the bottom line is everybody goes into a business with a certain skill set. Some people are more business oriented, some people are creative, some people are marketeers, some people are production oriented. everyone's got their thing. And basically leveraging where you're coming from. Like, I see everything from a branding perspective. So when I was designing what Dumye was like, it was easy for me to talk about our values and our mission and our vision and like all of that stuff, because that's what I know. And then for me, that's the filter for the business. Like, every business decision comes through that filter. And that's how I decide whether or not I'm going to do it or not.
But what benchmark actually triggered your decision to start the company? Like, for example, after receiving some feedback from your daughter and from your nieces, what was the benchmark after you received feedback from, let's say, 100 little girls? You decided, okay, I'm gonna actually create a product in the company.
No, that sounds so process oriented. This was not like that at all. This was, I think I had made 5 dolls.
Okay.
Yeah, I made 5 dolls, and then I was like, I think I can do this. I mean, I don't know how this is gonna work. I don't know how financially it's gonna work. They take hours to make. I don't know how we're gonna make any money, but I'll figure it out. And one thing that I kept banging my head against was like, because I decided after making 5 dolls I was gonna make this into a company, and like, you know, I was dreaming up all of the ways in which this was gonna work. Was like, I didn't really know how we were gonna make any money, and I kept crunching the numbers, and I was like, they don't work. Like, I can't make them work. And my husband was just like, Sahar, you don't have to know everything when you start. You'll figure it out. You've got enough going, so just start and like see what happens. You know, maybe everyone will hate the dolls, and you don't need to stress yourself out. Like, whatever it is, just start. Like, get feedback. Like, just move. You know, you could sit here and you know.
Intellectualize it.
Yeah, intellectualize everything. It's all stuck in your head, and in reality, it doesn't mean anything. Just get going, and then see what happens, and you'll figure it out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it does work, then awesome. You know.
So it wasn't very structured. But I think that that's one of the strengths, because you went with the flow and what worked went there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So smart.
It all was guided by like the brand that I wanted to create, like my dream brand. This is what we stood for. And that was basically my some people function off a business plan, that's how I function. So.
I think she tried to have too much structure with it first. And that's where I kind of just helped her push through that confines of the structures that she was trying to do. She was trying to figure it all out up front. And there's gonna come a point where you go beyond sort of sense into following your gut feeling. And I think that's where she was stuck, and I just kind of give it a little nudge to make that leap of faith. And I think that's what maybe every entrepreneur is. If you can actually figure it all out ahead of time, great. But I think it's not possible. There's got to be at a certain point where you go off gut instinct, you do your due diligence, you do all your homework like she did, and then you take a leap of faith. And that's what she needed, and that's kind of what triggered that.
Do you have a
I mean, she
business or
spent.
entrepreneurial background?
Sorry.
Do you have a background in this?
No, I'm in marketing.
Sounds like you guys complement. Because
You know, I mean-
you have more of a creative way to go about it, and once you figure out the problematic area.
That's a good partner though, like, you know what I mean? Having a good partner who like believes in you and trusts in what you're doing, and they become your sounding board, like, you know, because they listen to you, like say the good things and the bad things, and kind of go through it, and then having that sounding board and someone who's like, you know, can kind of prod you a little bit is definitely helpful. I hope that answered your question. I don't know
Yes,
if it
of
did.
course.
Okay.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
So I went into this with like, in a very positive way, I mean this, but like global domination. So it was basically like, I've always been like an all or nothing kind of girl. So it was like, we're gonna create this like amazing company, and everyone's gonna succeed, and we're gonna help people, and and that's how I kind of went into it. I don't know that I led on to other people that was what I wanted, but I went into it with that ambition, and I just sort of felt like if I fall somewhere between where I am right now and over like the world domination part, like that I'd probably be okay. But I think you have to believe that, and not everybody wants world domination. Some people want to be like masters within like a region or within like a city. You know what I mean? Depends on what you're trying to build or what your ambitions are. I always imagined that this would be a global company, and I don't even think about failure, like it's just not an option. And I think what scared me more was not that I would fail, but that I would succeed. And if I succeeded, what that would mean to my life, like what it would mean to like me as a mother, and what it would mean to like you, because when you do succeed, you're throwing yourself out there. And everyone's gonna say, oh, well,
Expectations.
yeah, like, did you do this, or have you thought of that, or whatever. You're like, oh my God, you know, now you actually have to defend every decision you make and what you've done and whatever. So I think that was more the fear, was that I would succeed, not that I would fail.
That is scary. I mean, I can imagine if you suddenly get a lot more orders and you have, a short amount of time to deliver.
That part isn't the part that scares me so much. It's the like, when you do interviews and people will be like sometimes people say, you know, Sahar, wouldn't it be better if you just gave the orphans money? Like, they don't need dolls. They need like food and they need education. And I'm like, listen, no one's denying that like everybody needs food and everyone needs a basic education. And there are a lot of organizations out there that are trying to provide those kinds of facilities and who are qualified to provide those kinds of facilities to these children. But we cannot deny that every child has a right to play and to be creative, and that nurturing their spirit isn't a valuable part of a child's upbringing. And it's something that these children are robbed of. And so that's what we bring to the table. And we go in working with other NGOs, you know, so we partner with other NGOs to be able to have access to the children and to be able to do these things. And another thing I hear is like, boys, they don't need dolls. They don't want dolls. They want footballs. We should give boys footballs. Like, what are you talking about? You like, seriously? If you go to one of these workshops, sometimes the boys are more excited than the girls. And we were in Egypt like 2 weeks ago doing workshops, and I had like a group of boys. They were sitting on a table together, and they created a soccer team. Each of them made their dolls into a soccer player, and they had matching jerseys, and they had their names on the back and their numbers, and you know, and they love football, but they're not looking at the doll thinking, oh, this is for girls. They're channeling like what they love into this character. And so I think from that perspective, it's like people question you and they want to find like the hole in your story, you know? And you just have to always be on your toes and like prepared and ready to defend what you're doing and why you do it and how you do it. If you're not successful, no one cares what you're doing. It's only once you succeed that they care, right?
It's hard because you are putting yourself out there, but at the same time, you've done so much to anyone who says anything to you. You should just tell them, look at what I've done.
There's always
Your
something.
reputation precedes itself. I agree with you.
Thank you.
I think as a journalist, because my name is out there in my stories, I always get that kind of feedback as well. And I just say, you know what, I wrote the story, publish it, and let me go do what you can do. Let it go, good care of it. You had a question.
How soon did you start doing that, and was there a point where you felt like you had important?
So we accumulated sales from the first year, and then when we had our 1-year anniversary, we did our first giving trip, and we didn't actually give all the dolls that we had sold over the course of the year because it was the first time we were doing it. So we thought, okay, let's we started with like 50 children, and we did it here in the UAE, so that we could kind of have it more controlled and know what was going on. And then we've been doing it yearly, so we just did our 3rd trip. I just did it 2 weeks ago. So the first workshop we had was like only with around 50 kids, and then the next year we went to Lebanon. We were in the refugee camps. We worked with 250 kids, and then I went to Egypt 2 weeks ago, and we worked with 700 kids.
Wow.
And like we still have a lot more dolls to give, but you know, I'm trying to figure out, you know, now it's changing. It's like, okay, so how do I maintain the quality of the experience for the children while still being able to make giving reasonably economically affordable and you know, consistent. So we're talking about doing it maybe quarterly, to kind of spread it out a bit. And is it expensive to give? It is expensive to give. And it's hard to budget because as an entrepreneur, cash flow is always an issue. But what I just try to do is not think about it and just, I know that's not the most probably responsible thing to do, but it's like, I need that, so I'm gonna order those 3,000 dolls and I'll figure it out when the invoice comes and we'll figure it out, we'll find a way. We made a commitment and we're gonna deliver on that promise. It's a super important part of our business. And I think as we get bigger, and now that I have an account on board, she can help me manage that a little bit better so that we can put aside funds specifically for giving instead of it kind of all mixed together. So, yeah.
And also sold online, right?
Mhm.
So e-commerce.
E-commerce is a special place.
It is, yeah, it is.
Special
I mean,
place.
it's improving. I think it's a very different market than it was 5 years ago,
Yeah.
I think.
So
There must be some difficult.
it's hard because
Cash on delivery.
we do cash on delivery, and I thought, someone was telling me that has another e-commerce business here that that is the holy grail here. It hasn't been so for us. We do get them. We do get a fair number of cash on delivery. Some people like to pay with PayPal, and we also accept credit cards online. I think, and obviously we only do cash on delivery here within the UAE. Outside of in America, people be like, what? What are you talking about? This is cash on delivery stuff. They don't do that. But I think the challenging part with online is being able to drive enough traffic to your website on a consistent basis to be able to convert that 1%, into sale. It is challenging, and it's something that takes a lot of. It's kind of scientific. It's more scientific. And I'm starting to dive into more of the analytics to really understand what our customers are doing, our potential customers are doing, and what they're reacting to, and trying to connect it to things that we post on social media and how does it, does it directly convert, and looking at, building our email list. I think that's really important because obviously you have a captive audience there saying, I like you enough for you to send me emails, so being able to leverage that. But it's hard. I think for us, we have a mix. So, we're selling online, we sell in pop-ups or markets and different events here, and then we have the wholesale channel. And so by having the mix, it allows us to function, because we're not relying on only one sales channel. And we did
more profitable or effective.
yeah, for us when we sell retail, like when we do pop-ups or markets or things like that, our numbers are always the best, and obviously your margins are the best because you're keeping money versus doing wholesale. And I have a meeting with a mall on Thursday. Fingers crossed. Everyone pray for me. Pray for me. So, because that could be an amazing growth potential for Dumye.
You just tell them you have a good word door.
The good news was they called me, so that because I would never have called them because there was no way we would be able to afford it. They called me and said, "Hey, we really love what you're doing. Would you like to?" And I was like, "Yes, I would like that." So we'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Fingers
I have one question. So I saw you the first time last year at the Global Youth Forum.
Okay.
It was also May.
Oh yes.
And back then you were with Dumye in the global finals of the venture competition. Can you share a little bit with us what was the experience back then at the global level? How did the competition go?
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience, or how did you promote Dumye back then at the global level?
So the venture, which is actually they just started the voting right now for the next company, Taka Solutions. So what the venture was a great platform for entrepreneurs. I mean, there's $1 million on the table, so it's like a lot of money that can make a huge difference to any enterprise. The way that they did it, I went to San Francisco, so I won for the Gulf region, or Dumye won for the Gulf region, and then I was competing against 15 other countries. We went to San Francisco, and they had like an accelerator week, and so we got to meet VCs, and we got to meet this company that does all of Apple's presentations. Like all they do as a company are presentations. So they sat down with us and they were mentoring us, and then they had like a business coach mentoring us. I mean, they brought together all these incredible people to teach us about things that were relevant, about measuring impact and whatever. And so that week was amazing. And then at the end of the week, there was a big event, and we pitched to the global judging panel. So there was 4 judges, and we pitched. And honestly, I felt like we put our best foot forward. Like I did as good as I possibly could. But the reality was that some of those people were coming in there talking about inventing like microchips that like did all kinds of unbelievable things. And as heartwarming as Dumye's story is, I think they were looking for that kind of thing. How we promoted ourselves, I mean, to be honest with you, the sponsors were promoting Dumye left, right, and center. And then there was like a voting round and people had to vote, so we were doing online advertising and things like that. We didn't win, but we walked away with $20,000, which was how we were able to launch our doll kits. Because the doll kits, I had to like buy lots of materials, thousands, which we had never done before. And so that $20,000 was what allowed us to do it.
It's nice that you're not afraid to try new things because you see kids. You didn't stop at just the dolls, but then it was the doll kids. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you.
It's exciting. Any other questions? Go ahead.
What's the future for you? Where do you want to
That
go?
was my next question.
The present is so nice right now. In the future, I think right now, it's all about increasing volume. It's maximizing what we have. We've been doing a lot of like product development. You don't understand, we sell things for kids, so it's child safety certifications and like all kinds of like legal things that have to happen in order for me to be able to sell this stuff. So now it's time to capitalize. We're going to start doing more trade shows and really build the volume. So from a commercial perspective, that is what we're talking about doing retail, So we have that going on. And then from a giving side, we've done a few trips. And there have been things that I thought worked really well and things that I didn't think worked very well. And I think spending some time really crafting how I see that moving throughout the future. Because what happens is you go into these places and these children are telling their stories through their drawings. So we draw in the evening and then they go into the doll. So they're telling you stories about their lives through their art. And I want to be able to capture more of those insights about what's going on with the children, what they're experiencing. Like, for example, when we were in the refugee camp, all the children, I mean, like probably 75% of the children, all drew their picture, because we start with the drawing like of a human form, in a green space. Everybody's was in a green space, and there were butterflies, and there were flowers, boys, girls, didn't matter. I was like, what is the deal with like the gardens, you know what I mean? And one of the social workers tells me they miss the greenery of Syria. In the refugee camp, there's nothing green. The air is thick, there's wires everywhere, there's no playgrounds, there's no trees, there's no plants. It's like smoky, and it's thick, and the children miss that. So like knowing that, right? Like if we can capture those insights of what is going on with the kids and maybe how we can improve their lives, then maybe we can partner with other corporations who can help fill those gaps, So let's see how else we can improve these children's lives in other ways. Like I feel like it's a waste to go there and not walk away with those nuggets and then find ways to implement. And we're not capable of implementing right now because we're just too tiny. But as we grow, I want to keep track of all this stuff so as we grow and we have the power to do those things, that we know exactly what we need to do, and how to spend a surplus or who to speak to, or, what do these children really need? And so I think for me that's like a really important sort of growth project.
That's great. That's good.
I have no doubt that whatever you put your mind to, you're going to accomplish it. Oriented. I think that's all the time that we have today, but it's been such an honor for me to interview somebody who's done such a it's a worthy cause, it's a great product, and I just wish you all the best. It's great to be women, entrepreneurs, empowerment.